Hey, this is Frank. This is a 2007 Toyota RAV4 with a 2.4-liter 2AZ FE engine. And this is a video that started out being about one thing, but it's ending up being about something else far more significant and more important. So let me show you the original intro for this video. Hey, this is Frank. This 2007 Toyota RAV4 is up in the air because we're replacing the transmission pan gasket and the transmission filter at the same time. The reason we're doing this is the old gasket turns the consistency of the ceramic. It gets cooked and no longer provides an adequate seal. In this video, I'm going to give you just some very quick tips for doing this job. Now let me show you an alternate intro to the video. This car used to have a hard shift. Let me explain what I mean by that. When you start up the car and then shift it into gear, whether it's drive and reverse, the car would just jolt. It would bang. It had a hard shift. And then if you shifted from the reverse to the forward gear, it also would jolt. It would bang with a hard shift. So this issue of the hard shift is an issue that we've seen on a lot of Toyotas that all have this same transmission that's in this car. But in the process of doing the transmission service, which was the original intention of this video, we found a solution to the hard shift. Keep watching to find out what it was. You'll get a once-in-a-lifetime chance to see what's inside one of these transmission filter elements. Start off by draining the transmission, and then before removing the pan, take off the side member. And this gives access to the bolts on the side of the pan. Of course, the undercover that you see here came off first. And this cross member is held on by 4 bolts with 17mm heads, 2 long ones in the front, 2 short ones in the back. I clean off the pan thoroughly. I use this sealant basically to glue the gasket down onto the pan so it doesn't move around. And then there's something else that I do, which is I thread all the bolts through the holes in the pan and the gasket, and that keeps the gasket securely lined up when I go to put it back on the transmission. This is the new filter. It's held on with 3 bolts, 2 on one side and 1 on the other side. This is the old filter, and what I want you to note is this filter has an O-ring. So make sure this O-ring does not remain stuck up in the transmission, and also make sure that when you replace or put back the new filter that it has its O-ring on it. That's all there is to it. Just be careful not to cross thread any bolts when you're putting the pan back on. This job is pretty simple if you go about it the right way. If any of the holes seem hard to turn because they have junk stuck in them or whatever reason, use a thread chaser like this one to clean up the threads. The original gasket should not be reused. The size of the gasket is somewhere around 17mm or 18mm. I just use one of these 18mm gaskets that are available at the auto store, and it fits right onto the drain plug. It's all back together. Please look in the video description for any of the items that I've mentioned, including this filter kit with the gasket included. This is the fluid that I use with all of my Toyota automatic transmissions. I refill the transmission by putting a funnel right through the dipstick tube, and then I pour the transmission fluid in through the funnel. 4 quarts is usually just right for a drain and fill, and of course you want to go through the procedure for verifying the and transmission fluid level, which is getting it up to operating temperature and checking the dipstick with the engine running. And now we get to the good part. After completing the transmission service, we get in the car, start it up, and no more hard shift. Goes right into gear, smooth as butter. You don't even feel it. Then we drive it around for a couple of days and it continues to be like that. Hard shift is gone. Previously with this car, we had tried doing a drain and fill on the transmission fluid, thinking that it might help with the hard shift, but it made no difference. The only difference in what we did this time is we used the exact same transmission fluid, but we replaced the filter. This is the old filter that came out of the car. And if we look straight down into the filter element, we see that it has some signs of being clogged. So is it possible that a clogged filter would cause the hard shift or the hard gear engagement when you shift into gear? It certainly is possible, because this could affect the fluid pressure in the transmission. And the automatic transmissions run entirely on hydraulic pressure. For the sake of the advancement of science, I have clamped this filter down, and I am going to cut it open using this Dremel tool so we can have a better look at what's inside. I have finished cutting it open. Let's see what's inside. Let's get a close-up view. Some of this material came from cutting the filter, but other is just sitting here on the screen, and you can see how much of this there is. I'm scraping it off. And what is this? This is all clutch material. The clutch packs for the various gears, they're consumable. They wear out. And they're not magnetic, so they get sucked up into the filter and they clog up this screen. And some people think that you can just wash off these screens without opening the filter and reuse it, but you know, this stuff goes right into the pores of this filter, and it just really reduces its effectiveness. Plus it reduces the ability of the filter to flow. So that's the problem that we correct by replacing the filter. I've taken it one step further and I've cut away this filter material, this screen, so you can actually see both sides. I just want you to see what this screen is like. You almost see right through it. And the parts that are still clogged that I didn't scrape off, you can't see through as well. And it's just a very thin wire mesh screen. My suggestion is going to be that if you do have a hard shift or a hard gear engagement, then try replacing the transmission filter. Do a transmission service, and maybe that resolves your problem. Thank you for watching this video. Hope that you enjoyed it.